Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I don't know why I'm starting off the episode serenading, but what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of In the Mind of Dame. It is that boy Dame back to you guys again with another vid, bro. We back once again. I'm on my shit today, bro. I'm on my shit today. I'm feeling good. You know what I'm saying? Another week, another episode. I'm getting done. So, add that to the consistency, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. In incorporating the habits into my life and everything, getting my routine down. It's been good, bro. I ain't even finna sit here and cap to you. It's been feeling good. It's a good feeling to kind of know, like, all right, bet, like I'm getting shit done. It's progress, baby steps, but it feels good just knowing that you taking care of yourself. So kind of getting on that stretch, it has been feeling good, man. Just been in a good mood recently. Uh, but man, hope everybody had a good last week, good wild card weekend. Oh my goodness, man, some fire ass games we just watched, man. Some fire ass games. I'm gonna talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Pittsburgh. We went down. I'm gonna get into it, bro. A lot of stuff done happened, but it was a good weekend, man. Hope everybody had a good one. Quick little weekend recap. What did I do this weekend, man? What did I do? So I went to see this movie. Me and the homies. Y'all know I hang out with some of my homies, and kind of the quick thing for us to do is to hit the movies and shit. So last week we went to go see this movie called Primate. Y'all probably heard of it, but it's literally a movie about a chimp gone bad. You know what I'm saying? Like these group of kids, they got somebody there got a pet chimp. He's all friendly, and next thing you know, bro, now he want to murk shit. So it was my idea to go see. I hit my friends up. I was like, yo, like y'all interested in seeing this joint? Because I had seen the trailer for it probably months prior to it coming out, and I was like, I ain't gonna lie, that movie might be alright. So, it came out because they like top of the year, so it's like shit kind of slow. So I'm like, bro, I'm like, hey, we haven't really checked out a new movie since Marty Supreme. At least that's the last one I had seen. So I was like, let's just go ahead and do it. And that joint was entertaining, bro. I ain't gonna sit here and lie. That joint was entertaining. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty simple. You know what I'm saying? It ain't deep or nothing. It's literally just a pet chimp just murking shit. That's all I can say, bro. Like you watch the trailer, like the way it looks is the way it happens in the movie, bro. He is destroying these people. But we went to go see that. On the topic of movies, bro, I'm a movie head, but I kind of been catching wind that people are really fucking with this Housemaid's movie, bro. And I ain't gonna lie, I seen it, bro. That movie is not that good, bro. Like I heard that joint is doing numbers. I don't really watch the box office or nothing in terms of like the statistics. I could care less. But from what I heard, Sydney Sweeney and them killing it in there. And I seen that movie, bro. That movie is not that good, bro. Like it's a movie I would describe as, y'all ever seen a movie that is bad but it's entertaining, so you kind of keep watching it just because you like screw it out. I already started watching it now. So yeah, like that's kind of just how it was, where it was like good theater experience. I mean, same thing with Primate. I mean, a good theater experience to me is a crowd that can laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like a good, I'm not really like pretentious when it comes to movie theaters. Like as long as you're not obnoxious with it. Like we went to see a movie a couple months ago. It was like a Downtown Abbey kind of spinoff, but it was like a comedy, like how 300 got Meet the Spartans. Like it was kind of like that. And there was some old couple in there, and I'm telling you, this dude was in there. He was laughing so hard, but you would have thought that this is the first comedy movie this nigga had ever seen in his life. That must have been the funniest movie that nigga has ever seen. He was in that joint just coughing, wheezing. I'm like, yo, that joke was funny, but it wasn't that funny. But the past two times for Primate and Housemaids, like people, we were in there having a good time. You know what I'm saying? It was a great theater experience because it was just so ridiculous at times. But movie recommendation, if you want to see one, Primate, I would definitely go check it out. I'm definitely gonna be hitting the theaters this week to go see. What are we going to go see? I think it's called Dead Man's Wire. So we're gonna go see that. I know some of the homies, they're gonna see like I think 28 Days Later, the Bone Temple one. I've never seen any of them, so I probably would sit that one out. But yeah, that's it for the movies and everything. And then this weekend, I went to brunch. at a place in Virginia. It was called Theismann's. You know what I'm saying? Cool little spot. Not a bad price. I ain't gonna do too much plugging because, you know, free advertisements. Like, nah. But nah, I mean, it was a cool restaurant though. Good food, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was in that joint. I got sauced, boy. I had like 5 mimosas, bro. I was in that joint. It's crazy because, like, I was low key talking shit too. I was low key talking shit. Like it's like when people talk about taking the edible and then after like an hour or some change, they be like, man, that edible was weak and that joint kicking and start fucking them up. That's how I was with the mimosas, because I had literally said, I was like, you know, I ain't never really get lit off mimosas before. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, 5 come around, I was kind of like, God damn, like, so it is kind of, I am kind of y'all feeling this joint. Like, I am kind of getting a little sauced. You know what I'm saying? But it was a good time, man. Definitely had some good food, good price. And then, yeah, that was pretty much the weekend. And then Sunday, you know, watch football, you know, with some of the homies, you know what I'm saying? Good time, good vibes, man. And then this past week, you know, leading up to today, man, your boy, I told y'all, one of my New Year's resolutions this year, I'm bringing sexy back, bro. I'm trying to get back right, bro. So finally got this hair done. You know what I'm saying? I feel like $1 million. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get that lining on Saturday, and we gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? We you know what I'm saying? We're not gonna be fully back to, you know, prime time handsome thing, but you know, I can start to see, you know, the difference has been in that gym. You know what I'm saying? Tossing that weight. You feel me? But nah, man, just good vibes, man. Good vibes this weekend, man. You know, like I said, football and everything, man. It's been a good week. But yeah, man, it's been good, man. You know, I know there's a lot going on around the country and everything like that, but you know, I ain't gonna lie, like sometimes that can kind of get me down because it does start to feel like it is kind of moving a bit closer. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, damn, like I feel like this shit is just getting closer and closer. And just the way my brain is working is just like, damn, like we kind of move into a point in time in the country where it can start to get really bad out here. So just protect yourself, you know what I'm saying? Try to just, you know, stay informed whatever going on and just try to make sure you keep your plans and try to come up with a good little self-care routine to just keep your mind at ease. Because that's really what helped me start like getting on routines and stuff like that, was just because, you know, just going through like an existential crisis for real and everything going around the country. And then like, you know, like I feel like this is the most I've ever seen like politics affect my direct life. You know what I'm saying? So like really seeing how like the shit that's happening in DC in Capitol Hill and all that really affects my day to day. It gets a little down. You know what I'm saying? My TikTok algorithm, you know, I start to see a lot more people kind of saying the same thing. So it starts to get me down a bit, but I had to kind of come up with my own system of things, of a bunch of shit I want to do and stuff like that. So, you know, that's why I've been super big on, you know, developing a routine and trying to make sure I make time for not just being constantly on the grind and always trying to do some shit, but just get outside. Just get outside and experience life. That's what the brunch was for me. Just like one of those things that I'm trying to do just to be like, you know what, screw it, bro. Let's get out the house, go to a place I ain't never been before. It was a good time. Definitely had a good time, for sure. And also, bro, I almost forgot, bro. My TikTok was going crazy this past week. I had mentioned I had a vlog last week, and I had posted, you know, a little solo date to the Air and Space Museum or whatever. That joint doing all right. You know what I'm saying? A couple thousand views. You know what I'm saying? Getting some follows. You know what I'm saying? Posted 2 more TikToks after that. You know, it didn't do those type of numbers, but, you know, it's been cool. And it's been fun. I ain't gonna lie. I started to have fun with TikTok just because of the way I kind of approach it now, where it's like, I don't really try to use social media, especially ones like TikTok or Twitter, as I think these platforms of just like trying to promote myself and my business and all this shit like that. I really just have been on there recently just trying to connect with people who just have similar interests, or that's really what TikTok kind of just became. Like, it's just been interesting to kind of just approach it with that mindset of like, you know what, this isn't just for me to just keep trying to promote the pod or promote myself. It's to just, let's get on there and just connect with people who fuck with music. Let's get on there and connect with people who fuck with sports. Like, it's been fun to do. It really has been fun to do. You know what I'm saying? I haven't connected with like too many people in terms of like, having like deep conversation, but it has been fun to also see other people's hobbies, interests. Some people are really good content creators and they're like super duper small. Like as I start to see a lot more smaller accounts on my TikTok, I don't really get like these big ass pages or whatever. And it's been really fun to just sometimes watch people's creations and just be like, man, like he's pretty funny. Or, I get the underground artist pages where it's like TikTok doesn't really support smaller artists, but if this thing came across your For You page, it's meant to be. So, I've been actually watching some people's stuff and some people are really good. So it's just interesting to see people from all across the world just with similar interests, having similar conversations that I have with my friends, whether it's about sports and music. So I think approaching it like that has become a lot more fun to use it, because even if I do get a low amount of views or whatever, or a low amount of engagement, it just don't be mattering, because it's like I can just go on somebody else's video and just like start a conversation there. Like I've been leaving endless comments on people's shit, and it's crazy because I did start to do that mostly because I kept seeing like these TikTok gurus or whatever kind of be like, oh, the algorithm wants you to engage so that it can understand you and they'll push you more. So make sure you're commenting on other people's stuff and all the stuff like that. So at first when I started, I definitely was kind of using it on some, okay, I'm going to just kind of comment some shit here and there just to try to, keep getting my content pushed on the algorithm. But then at some point it really stopped becoming about just being like, oh shit, I'm about to just try to just get comments so that I can get my page to blow or get more views or whatever. I've really just been commenting on people's shit just because I'm like I be on there, like a nigga will post like, hey yo, my hot take, whoop whoop whoop, is better than this. And then I'll really be in that comment section like, nah nigga, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? Or I just tell people, I fuck with your content, like this video was really dope. You know what I'm saying? Like I started following this dude, you know what I'm saying? Just this random guy, complete random dude, in which literally like 2 days ago, he was like, yo, I lost my job. You know what I'm saying? I just got laid off. So he was like a fashion dude. He was like, now I'm about to pivot to kind of recording my day-to-day life, and like kind of this is my new day one. I'm about to try to find a new job. We started from scratch. So I've been watching the TikToks, he's been posting kind of crazy, you know what I'm saying? But it's been interesting, man. It's definitely been interesting. It makes me look at TikTok kind of completely different, just because it's like I'm not dealing with like I guess a bunch of fucking slop on my timeline. I'm actually engaging with like real life human beings. So it's been fun to do. So yeah, so definitely fuck with me on there, man. It's definitely going up. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely gonna be posting on there a lot more, just because I just feel so much more like free on there. Like I don't have a lot of like people who I grew up with following me or some shit. Like I'm not really sitting over there concerned about what people think about the content over there. I'm really just on there posting shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's been fun. It's definitely been fun. I'm gonna definitely try to keep up with it as much as I can. I've kind of try to work that into my daily routine while also trying to add like some screen time, restrictions. But besides that, man, it's been a good week. Definitely been a good week. You know what I'm saying? We just taking it one day at a time. But without further ado, man, let's go ahead. Let's get started into some of these topics I got for today, bro. So this is topic one. Topic one is big news came out today that J. Cole is going to be releasing The Fall Off, the long-awaited album, on February 6th, 2026. So we a couple weeks away from this thing. I watched the trailer for it. The trailer looked amazing. I kind of heard, the little snippet he put in there. It sounded good. It sounded good. My thoughts on it, what am I expecting? What would I like to hear? I would start off by saying this is the most excited I've been for a Cole album probably ever. I'm really not super duper. Let me preface by saying I would say my whole view of J. Cole kind of changed probably in a matter of weeks. I really didn't grow up a huge J. Cole fan. I think he's a dope lyricist. I think he raps really well. But besides a handful of projects like 2014 Forest Hill Drive, maybe A Born Sinner, and like kind of moments from all of his records, his albums don't really connect with me. Like I really, and it really wasn't until like maybe 2 weeks ago I really re-listened to the off season, And I kind of was blown away. I'm going to be brutally honest. I really was blown away, and I kind of talked about it last week. But that almost changed my whole perspective of Cole. Like, I ain't going to sit here and lie, you know. But I think for me, the way I do view his albums, I don't think he's a really, really great album maker. I think he's a really great rapper. And I think he has his moments on albums. And I think 2014 Forest Hill Drive, I think, is like, you know, a really, really solid work from him. And it's a really great album. Like, I really think that's a really great body of work from him. But it's like some of the albums don't really connect with me from beginning to end. Like, I kind of take moments from them. So I feel like for me, this is the one I really feel like it really could do well for Cole. I feel like, you know, I feel like Cole, when I watch him, especially with the whole concept of the fall off, there's a level of hunger that he still has to get better at the craft. And I think I just have to respect that. And I think for an album that sounds like he really, really, really wanted to hit his peak and then kind of get into his bag with this album, I'm really excited to hear what that sound like. You know what I mean? I've heard him talk about this project for years now. And I think, especially after listening to the offseason, I think the mindset he was in when he created that and how much I love that album now, I feel like it's even more for the fall off. So I am excited for sure. Like, you know, I really am. Like, this is going to be a great album from him. You know what I mean? And I think this is a great way to start off the year. I think Cole, his voice wants to be, I think we want to hear his voice, bro. We want to hear him speak. We want to hear him. We don't want to hear from him. You know, he's already a dude with not the highest social media presence. So when you kind of go a minute without music, it's literally like you don't hear from him. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be nice to hear from him again. I think just from where his headspace was at, even in just the tracks that he released, you know, after post the Kendrick and Drake beef, they sounded really well and he rapped really well. So I just think for me, you know, he's really been taking his time on it. So I really can't wait to hear it. The only thing I would say for me with Cole is just, I really don't want no mention of the beef. I think we are all okay with that. I think there's really nothing I want to hear him talk about regarding Kendrick or Drake. I don't want to hear anything regarding that. I think maybe I am way more willing and accepting of, no, actually, you know what? Maybe I am a more accepting of, if Cole kind of comes on the album and I think he kind of talks about what the difference of his career was like after everything that happened and how he's had to navigate that, and plus just whatever's been kind of going on in between all that, I think it would be really, really dope to hear. But I just don't want to harp on the beef for so long. You know what I mean? Because I don't really think, like, if he comes on the album, right, and let's just say he starts shooting, like, I'm just saying, like, he just, you know, he kind of gets in a diss bag or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing out shit. I just feel like I just want him to kind of just stick to what has Cole been up to. You know what I mean? Stick to Cole. Don't involve anybody else. This is your moment. We want to hear from you. And I really do think that because he kind of kept his head down and everything, I think whatever bad taste is in our mouth about Cole, you know, from how he handled the beef or whatever, I think for the most part it's mostly gone, right? Like, I really don't care that he bowed out. It doesn't really mean anything in how I view him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, y'all know I'm a Kendrick fan. So him doing that, for me, I guess just at best, or I guess at worst for Cole in terms of how I view him, was all it did was just validate that I always felt like, okay, Kendrick was better than him. This just kind of proved it. That was that. I didn't look at Cole like some punk or some bitch. Like, if he didn't want to do it, he didn't want to do it. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? And I think we've kind of gotten to that point with Cole where I think everybody's kind of like, who cares about it? Like, you did what you did. Your fans still love you. You're still a great rapper. And you kind of walked away from it. Yeah, people might be mad at you or were mad at you. But I mean, if I had to choose between being Cole right now or Drake right now, I would choose Cole. You know what I mean? Where Drake looked like he's on the downward spiral, Cole just been to himself like he always has been. Like, it didn't really feel like nothing really changed for him. Maybe besides people kind of talking shit about him like that. But I mean, that went away. Cole's pen is nice enough that if he comes out and he's rapping really, really well, and he doesn't have to mention the beef or how he would kill niggas, and if anybody step out of line with him in the booth, he gonna do that. He doesn't have to do that anymore. He can just rap well. So that's kind of just what I'm expecting for, and that's all I really am hoping for. Is just to hear what Cole has been up to. I want to hear a really great production, and I want to hear him. I want to hear his pen. It sounds like that's really the main focus of it, is lyrically how good he's gotten. And maybe there might be more of a desire for how he wants it to sound from production, or maybe, sound ideas that he hasn't tried yet. He might try them now. Who knows, right? I'm just saying, from what I've kind of feel like I've gathered from Cole and just the way his mindset works, it just feels like to me it's just getting to a point of rapping at what he thinks will be his all-time best. So I'm excited to hear it, bro. I'm excited to hear it. So it's gonna be nice, man. I really think that it's a good start to the year for me musically. ASAP Rocky on Friday. I really am excited for that. I've been kind of talking about it the past couple weeks, but I really am excited for this ASAP Rocky. I really do think it's gonna sound well. He gonna really get on there and sound good. I just feel like my only concern with Rocky is just the fact that it's going to be really hard to justify him being away for 8 years with no new music. I really think it's going to be very, 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 very tough for any amount of music to really, I think, justify that, especially when it's such a different variation of an album compared to what it was last year, 2 years ago, whenever he announced it, so I'm just excited for it. I just think that I'm desperate for new Rocky. I ain't gonna hold you. And the singles I've heard for it so far have been nothing short of amazing. So I'm excited. All right, next topic. Oh, let me tell you guys about this next topic. I have been talking about this subject on Twitter for forever. Since this situation happened, I have been on Twitter fuming mad about this next topic. So as you guys might know, the Jags lost to the Bills on Sunday. Great game. And after the game, the head coaches, they got to do the press conference or whatever, talk to the reporters. So Liam Cohen, the head coach of the Jaguars, he was on the podium or whatever, and a reporter by the name of Lynn Jones, she could see that he was dejected after the loss, and basically gave him some words of encouragement, like kind of towards the end of the press conference, where she was just like, hey, keep your head up. You had a great season. The community of Jacksonville, we are really behind you. Just keep your head up. Black woman stuff, you know what I'm saying? She sounded like an auntie for real. Like she really was, helping Brett through a tough time. So he was like, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And so then Adam Schefter, famous NFL reporter, reposted a video of when it happened. And the internet goes crazy, bro. Way more crazier than I really would have ever thought it would. And it sparked this whole debate about journalism and was that professional and all this shit. So when that happened, I'm watching it, I'm like, yo, like this is kind of crazy. Because a lot of journalists had came out and basically was like, this is so unprofessional. She's breaking journalistic integrity. Mind you, all she did was tell the man, hey, congrats on a great season. Just keep your head up. No reason to be disappointed. You guys are going to do better next year. And it was just all this stuff by all these journalists, basically just calling out her credentials and all this stuff like that. And I ain't going to lie, bro, that's probably the first time I really was like arguing on Twitter for real. Because it was so ridiculous the amount of backlash this lady got for just being kind, bro. For literally just being kind to people, bro. And it really started uproar. Famous reporters were just like, this is super unprofessional. This is super you're just not supposed to do that, or that's just not the time and the place. And my stance on it was just like, who gives a damn? You know what I mean? Like, why are we really making so much of a big deal of her just providing words of encouragement to the head coach? You know what I mean? Like, I just really didn't see what the big deal was. And then for journalists, like these famous journalists, to kind of just, I don't know, like kind of prepostered himself as like being so pretentious about, you know, their role as a journalist and why they do the work that they do. And it just came off really asshole. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like, you know, because especially when you talk about a black person doing something, the main thing I can kind of see what happens is just that it really becomes a time for white people to kind of get their racism off, and they kind of hide it under the disguise of, oh, well, we all were shitting on them, so this isn't really racist. You know what I mean? So now you have a lot of these white reporters coming out and being like, what she did, she should have her media pass pulled. It just became super ridiculous over the whole thing. And then I think the most disappointing fact of it all was that it started to become like, you could see black reporters and journalists kind of being being very critical of this woman and what she did. And I really didn't fuck with that, because I think to a lot of people it was just like, why are we tripping over this? Like, really, what is the big deal of her just doing that? Like, it's really not that deep. And then it just became this whole thing about, well, you know, reporters, we only have so much time with the head coach. So if she uses her time to do that, it takes time away for another reporter. So then somebody who's reporting on the situation basically was like, I'm going to just give you the context of the whole situation. Nobody said nothing for about 10 seconds before she grabbed the mic and said something. Two, this lady is credentialed. She's been doing reporting and journalism for the Jacksonville area for 20 years. So she probably just has a different relationship with the coach and the players and whatever. And on top of it, they were just like, I was in the press conference and none of the reporters asked anything of relevance. They asked the head coach of the Jaguars, you know, what did you think of Josh Allen's toughness? Like, they were just asking questions that he didn't even want to answer for real. And they were repeating the same questions, but just asking it in a different way. So they were just like, y'all are just making this really become a big deal over nothing. And it's just like, you know, if we're going to criticize this, yo, you know, let's just keep it fair. And it just felt like a lot of people just took the moment to shit on her. You know what I mean? And I really didn't fuck with that personally, because I think for me, I'm super big on kindness this year. I really am big on kindness. I'm really big on trying to treat my fellow human with the same amount of respect that I would want. And just being kind to others really just does go a long way. It feels better when I'm like being complimentary to somebody. Like, you know, everybody knows, bro, I hate my job. Like, that is no, you know, no breaking news here. You get what I'm saying? But I don't really go into work anymore with just, I feel like, this amount of frustration about me being at a job I don't like. I just never, well, let me rephrase it. Now I'm, because at times, like, if you really don't like your environment because you're not happy, you kind of aren't being happy or quote unquote nice to others for real. But I really kind of killed that, because it's just like, you know what, like, it's just better to be nice to the people, especially people who really don't deserve my frustration about what's going on. And I don't really do that often in terms of like being mean. I'm just saying, like, you know, sometimes, like, if you're already having a bad day and then somebody walks up to you and they need something, or you got to go out of your way for something, you might just get a little annoyed. That's kind of more what I mean. But beyond that point, I really just didn't feel like this act of kindness that this woman did for the head coach was just this big deal. You know what I mean? It just felt like somebody taking a very small thing and then blowing it up because they felt like their reporting, I guess, respectability was going down. And I just really felt like the poor time and place to kind of like take this weird stance on, well, this lady was super unprofessional by doing that. It's just like, have we really gotten to that point now where we can't even just look at a moment of somebody doing something nice and saying, you know what, that was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that this is such a big story, just in terms of it being kindness that is having to be displayed and it goes viral, kind of just shows that we are at a place where kindness just isn't really like expected or normal. It's like almost like a rarity to see somebody be kind or something. And it's just like, while I always appreciate acts of kindness, it is becoming a lot more sadder to see situations where it's like, damn, like, here's this positive reaction we can have towards something. It can inspire others to do better. And then it just felt like it just started this whole conversation about what should reporters be doing, and this is why nobody takes it serious. And then I think at a certain point, the reason why I started getting frustrated on Twitter was just because of like, you could kind of see that reporters didn't really care about the situation for real, for real. They just knew this is the hot topic. I'm a reporter. I got a little bit of a following. If I say something about the topic, I can get some engagement. And like I kind of said last week, I really don't like a sellout. That is really, like, to me, one of the worst type of people to be associated with is somebody who is just a sellout. And I feel like some of that shit was kind of sellout energy. You know what I mean? I think even for me as somebody who was not a reporter, I could understand and kind of want to posture myself to be like, hold up, now this is a black woman. Y'all coming down a little too hard, and just off of just GP is really not that deep. Like, I honestly applaud the fact that she did that, because respect, like, you know what I'm saying, bruh should keep his head high. Like, the Jaguars coach, he had a great year. He turned a team that was 4-13 like 14-3. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild. So I think for her to kind of do that, where she was a member of the community, kind of being like, hey, you know, like, you did a really good job and we are behind you. I think even if you thought it was awkward, I don't really think that it started to become this whole professional thing. And I think to see I think people who I really do respect in the journalism reporting field really kind of take a weird stance on it, where it's kind of like, yuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of choosing this journalist ethical side of it, and then you have a lot of context missing. You know what I mean? You're kind of arguing a point that isn't even the situation at hand. You know what I mean? And then on top of it, you're questioning the credentials of this black reporter who's probably been reporting just as long as anybody who's commented on the situation. Very respectable reporter, journalist, you name it. And it just became like a thing where I could just see the tide kind of flipping, where I'm like, okay, this is not about no damn professionalism. There's some white reporters coming out and they're really going way too hard about this, as if it's that deep. And then the greatest thing about all of this, by the way, is that for me, I just took the stance of like, okay, bet, if journalism is that important and if it's that respectable, I better hear amazing questions from here on out. Literally the next day after all this hoopla on Twitter, you see endless clips of the reporters asking the same questions 50 times in a row. You see the same, like, you just see the players getting upset, like, I just answered this question. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is why everybody just looked at it and said, y'all took this weird stance, or taking this weird hill to die on that she disrespected this journalism code of ethics and shit, or code of conduct, whatever you want to call it, that she took this stance on it, and it looks weird, it looks funny, and she broke all of it just for y'all to not really look like y'all have anything respectable going on, because we watched a press conference and all of you guys asked the same question a million times in a row. The leader of this whole thing, who critiqued it the most, they start pulling up old press conferences where she was not asking nothing about the game at hand. She was asking Aaron Rodgers about, or is that a wedding ring? I never seen you with that before. And everybody just like, but you ask dumbass shit. You know what I'm saying? So what's worse, her complimenting the coach, or you asking dumbass shit? You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like sometimes, bro, those type of stories really get to me, because it just really just shows, like, you know, in the time that we're in right now, you know, you would just hope that, like, we just see some kindness and be like, man, that's fire. To, like, critique the kindness the way that some of those reporters were doing was just ridiculous to me. It really was bad. Like, I really want some of y'all to really go on Twitter and look at this shit. And I was really getting pissed off, you know what I mean? Because it just was such a weird hill to die on, that what this lady did was damn near a fucking felony. Like, it's so bad on there, bro. You know what I mean? And I respect a lot of the black journalists and reporters who stood up for her. You know what I mean? Who really got behind her, and also held some of the other black journalists and reporters who had a lot to say on the subject, and really saying, y'all are dead wrong and y'all need to apologize and y'all need to get y'all act together, because y'all over here, y'all acting way too crazy over this situation, and it ain't that deep. So, yeah, that was just an interesting story, man. That had me fired up on Twitter. I retweeted so much stuff about that, because I could not believe that some people were taking the stance that they were. I could not believe it, bro. All right. Next story. So I see my man's Kai. I don't really watch Kai Cenat, I'll be honest. But this whole topic regarding him, I gotta give Kai his flowers. I really do. I really gotta give Kai his flowers. Other day Kai revealed he has like this hidden YouTube channel, and on this hidden YouTube channel he is basically on there, he's just vibing. You know what I'm saying? He's on there, he's reading on there, he's, learning how to sew or knit or whatever. Like, he's just on there just doing a bunch of shit that he just wants to try or whatever. And it just made me look at him a lot differently. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not really a Kai Cenat fan. I'm really not super big into streamers and anything like that, just because I really do feel like a lot of it is catered more towards a younger audience. And I'm not going to lie. I ain't gonna lie, I was a hater of Kai. Not legitimately, like, just hated him and didn't think whatever. His content just wasn't for me. I was on some old nigga shit. I ain't gonna lie. But I think the one thing I used to give Kai credit for at least a little bit was just the fact that I at least see him using his platform to try to do good. And I will always try to give him flowers on that. Like, you know what? You are trying to give back to your community. You're trying to do the right thing. Maybe you don't know how to do it all the right way just because you're young, so you don't know as much of everything about, just how to, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's hard for him to, I guess when I first watched him try to put something together, whether it was involving community, it just kind of felt like, just meet me here. It didn't feel very planned. But over the past couple months, I can just tell Kai, he's just in a different headspace in terms of realizing that, like, he was streaming so young and had to be like in a job for so long and kind of stuck in the streaming world for so long that now he's kind of like slowing his mind down and trying new shit. And I really respect that. And I think I respect it so much because I think Kai has a lot of influence. And I think it felt like to me, Kai was just too young to have that level of influence just because he hasn't been around a lot yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like he has so much influence, and it's like with that much influence, you kind of don't know what to do. You kind of just, you're trying to live, you're trying to be funny, just trying to stream, but he's a very like influential figure. And I feel like seeing him now influence better behavior from just people in general, like even for me. He posted the book of him reading Atomic Habits, and I bought the book, and that book, honestly, I can confidently say has changed my life. I did not know much about that book prior to Kai posting it on the story. And he put me on game. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's really dope to see him, I think, showcase that side of him that is trying to do different shit. Recognize that, oh shit, like, I got this time. Let me go ahead and try to learn a new skill. Let me try to grow my knowledge of something. You know what I'm saying? And I think to use his influence to do that, I think is really, 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 really dope. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people who came from the streaming side of shit and don't use their influence. Look at what Aiden Ross be doing. He don't use his influence for no good. He just uses it to be a piece of shit racist. You know what I'm saying? So to see Kai reading, right? And you seeing him read, he doesn't know what a word is, and look it up. And I remember I kind of got on Twitter, and this is why Twitter is just a cesspool. I really don't think I need that app to do anything for real. But that's beside the point. But people on Twitter were just like, wow, look at that. Like, he has to look up the word. And I'm like, that's what the hell you were supposed to do. He's trying to learn. He's learning. He didn't know what the word meant. He looked it up. That's completely normal. And I'm just like, we really be shitting on people for trying to do better. But I respect the shit out of Kai for using that amount of influence that he has and saying like, hey, this is me trying shit. Like, don't be afraid to get out and try shit. Don't be afraid to chase a dream. And I really do respect that because he has that at such a young age. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has that at 23, 22. I feel like where he is mentally, what he's trying to push people to do, I'm just getting to this stage and I'm at 27. You know what I mean? And I think a little bit at times, I feel like maybe when I used to watch him, I'm like, man, this nigga kind of low key getting all this money and doing all this shit. He doing this so young. And sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes when you older and you kind of seeing how much money these young niggas getting, you can get a little spiteful. I ain't even finna sit here and lie. You can get a little bit like, man, these niggas getting money from just doing anything out here, and I'm out here in the mud trying to make it. Woo 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 woo. But I guess what I'm saying is like, even on me kind of chasing this different path for my life and saying, you know what, it's time for me to start taking some risks towards wanting to do something with my life and being creative and whatnot. The whole nine. It's dope to see Kai do it at such a young age, and now even having the influence and everything that he could probably get from chasing his dream, still kind of finding a way to give back and grow that knowledge to give to other people and tell them, yo, go try shit, go gain knowledge, go get smarter. Like, that is really fire to see. And I love the fact that he's doing that, and the fact that he has that selflessness to do it at such a young age. I really admire that. He gained a fan in me. Like, seeing that, I haven't watched none of the videos for real. I just kind of seen the clips, of him on the thing or whatever. I just thought it was really dope, bro. I really thought it was super dope. And I want him to keep going, bro. Like, I really became a fan. Like I said, maybe the content just isn't for me. I feel like that's more catered towards like somebody like my niece. You know what I'm saying? But I respect the effort. I respect the intention. And I respect the fact that at least these kids who are younger than me coming up, they're seeing something that maybe will inspire them to kind of come to the realization that I'm trying to get to now, which is for me to try shit, create, learn. Like, it's just dope to see Kai doing that at such a young age. So I had to give him his flowers on that. I thought that was really, really, really tough for him to do. All right. Let's get it, man. We're going to get to the wild card weekend. I really ain't going to talk about none of the other games like that. Like, the Bears come back. That was super duper dope to see. The Panthers put up a really, really good fight against the Rams. I like more of a fight than I thought they would. I really thought the Rams was finna get their ass. The Panthers was finna get their ass whooped, but they played hard. They made the Rams compete. They made them play hard, and I love what I saw. I saw the Panthers picked up Bryce Young's player option, so he'll be there with them for 2027. And the only opinion I have on it is just that they could probably still go out there and try to get a guy, kind of get a QB competition going. I talked to my man Cam about that, and I was just like, yeah, that probably would be best. But good season for the Panthers. Good season. You know what I mean? Definitely one of the teams that I think, to me, was a surprise story. I really did not think that the Panthers would be in the position to even make the playoffs, much less get a first round and actually almost beat them. You know what I mean? I really never noticed how dedicated the Panthers fan base was until I kind of started to see, people love that franchise, and it's good to see. You know what I mean? I started to kind of low-key root for the Panthers a little bit. Like, I think in that game, I think if the Panthers had won, it would have been a great, great story. But I do like the Rams, and I did kind of want to see them advance the Super Bowl. I really wouldn't mind Matt Stafford getting his second ring. So, but yeah, good job for the Panthers. The Eagles got knocked out. I'm not really a big Eagles fan. I'm going to just be honest. Like, I really don't root for them very often. And I think it's mostly just due to the fan base. They were feeling themselves a little too much. And I was like, all right, y'all got to take it down a notch. But I will say, however, this was an interesting year for the Eagles. I really don't know what I watched from them this year in terms of just how confusing it was to see a team with so much talent be so dominant last year. On one side of the ball, still be dominant, but then on the other side of the ball, with all the talent, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts when he's on, just looked like they didn't even know what was going on the offensive side of the ball. Like, they were painful to watch most times I watched them. It was just like, what the hell? Like, it's like sometimes they don't even look like they're trying on offense. They just like, yo, the defense got it. We just got to if we score, we score. We don't. And I'm just like, this is nasty. Like, it was rough to watch them. That's the worst I think I've ever seen it in that game. And if I'm the Eagles, you already did what you were supposed to do. You fired the offensive coordinator. He had to go. I don't know what the hell he was doing. But you got to get A.J. Brown out of there. I like A.J. Brown has to go. I think it's better for both sides. And he just needs to change the scenery. It's not going to get better. But if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm a bit nervous. You know what I mean? I feel like y'all put yourself in that position where you sacrifice the future to be good now. And I feel like it's going to go down from here. I really don't know what the hell y'all going to do. You know what I mean? Like, that did not look good. That did not look good by any source of the imagination. And I don't know. That really just did not look good. And I just feel like the team is just going to, you can already see the crumbling. Like, it's not going to be able to sustain. You know what I mean? Like, the way Jalen Hurts played, and I feel like this year you could really see the flaws in his game as clear as ever. You know what I mean? And that's really, really not good. You know what I mean? They just look like, I just feel like watching the Eagles, they just look like a team that didn't have it. Like, when I watched them, they didn't look like a team that was super high on energy. They didn't look like they were hungry every week. It just kind of felt like we're probably better than most teams on paper, so we can fuck around and win. And it's like they did that for a good amount of times. But I kind of knew, okay, I don't really see a world in which they looked as bad as they had the whole year, and then the playoffs come around and they just flip a switch. I really did not see that happening. And that's kind of the result. Shout out to the Niners as well. I mean, that's a gritty football team. You lose George Kittle, he's going to be out for a very long time with that Achilles tear. You're playing majority backups, and you play what's in front of you. If the Eagles want to fuck around and play and act like they don't got no damn sense on the field, you go out there and you kill them. And that's exactly what the 49ers did. McCaffrey had such a good game. Brock Purdy, he looked good. They just look like a very solid football team. And I really am curious to see what it's going to look like with the Seahawks versus the Rams next week. That's going to be a really good game. But shout out to them. Now, let's get to Pittsburgh, bro. Let's just knock it out the way. That loss was a tough one. That was a tough one for me personally, because I have been vocal about, I think Pittsburgh just needs a new culture. They need, I think this Tomlin era, I think is done with. They need, I think, just to wipe the slate clean. You know what I mean? I've been very vocal about it. But last week, we get this miraculous win against the Ravens. You know what I mean? So we make it to the playoffs. At this point, I'm like, this is a playoff team now. The AFC isn't the scariest it's ever been. Can we win a playoff game? Can we win a playoff game? And I really sipped the Kool-Aid, and the more the week went on, I said, you know what? I really think we can do it. For some reason, I don't know why. And I think I can tell you, the reason why I think I really believed we could is because I felt like we could. After watching Aaron Rodgers against the Ravens, I really was like, okay, bet this is a veteran QB, and I feel like the way he played was the work of somebody who has to have been in that situation multiple times. Aaron Rodgers did not do anything crazy like evade 10 sacks and throw the ball, 50 yards downfield for a touchdown with the smallest window. It wasn't that type of performance where he just showed off how good of a thrower of the football he was. He just showed, I'm going to collect the troops. I'm going to get them together. We're going to run our simple offense of just throw the ball short, go out there, make guys miss, and I'm just going to just keep this ship steady. And I said, you know what? He's going up against a tough defense, but the Texans offense, I'm not wowed by. Probably a low-scoring game. If we get to that fourth quarter and it's close, I think Aaron Rodgers can get us this W. I could not have been more wrong. Aaron Rodgers could not have looked more old. We could not have looked any worse on offense. The Texans could not have played any better game on defense. and we got our asses whooped. I had so much faith that worst case scenario, we would be competitive. To lose like that was the worst. The Texans defense scored more points than the Steelers offense, bro. That is inexcusable. I went out to dinner to Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm like, you know what? I got my Steelers gear on. I got the hat, the jersey, my terrible towel. I said, man, I'm going to go out and go watch the game. I'm about to be with the Steelers crowd. Me and my dad went to the Buffalo Wild Wings. There was other Steelers fans in there. And it was just rough to watch. It was really rough to watch. I really sat there and I was just like, this is over. Like, something has to change. Something has to change. And literally the next day, just like that, I really didn't know that Tomlin was not going to be the coach. I thought if he had lost last week, I thought it was over. I really thought it would be over for sure. Like, okay, he's out of there. He made the playoffs though, 10-7. Okay, cool. Next day he's gone. You know what I mean? He steps down and forms a team. And just to go back prior to the game, it was funny on social media. I feel like all the Steelers fans' sentiment was the same. We really don't have faith in this team. We know that this team could mess around, get to the playoffs, and lose. We know that is fully possible. But can we though? Like, is there a chance we could win? And it doesn't happen. So after losing that game, bro, I just said, somebody has to get fired. It has to happen. It's that time. What's next? And it actually happened, bro. It actually happened rather quickly. And don't get me wrong, it hurt a lot more than I thought it would. Like, when you really look at it, I think the initial frustration because we didn't win, and that kind of like was on my mind. So I was like, man, fuck it. Niggas got to get fired. But when you really think about it, Mike Tomlin's the only coach I've had since I've been a Steelers fan. It's always been Mike Tomlin. So heading into this new phase, a time where now he's going to be not there anymore, and now we're bringing in this new guy, it feels different. It feels different. There's a lot of memories in my Pittsburgh Steelers fandom I've had with Mike Tomlin as our coach. But it just had to happen. I really do feel like it's the right step in the right direction for Pittsburgh, because I really do think that being a team where you just middle of the pack every single year, you scrape in the playoffs, and then you don't just lose, you get your ass whooped in the first round every time. It really takes a toll. It really takes a toll, because you really start to wonder, what is the point of this? You know what I mean? And that's kind of just how I kind of left out of yesterday, feeling like I was really pissed off we lost. But the main thing was just, it happened again. Like, it legit happened again. Like, just when you thought we could not do it again, we did it again. And it felt like the best opportunity for us to do it. So, I kind of figured that regarding Tomlin, it's always going to be a mixed reaction. I think majority of the fan base, which is why I think he's not there anymore, kind of just felt like, it's time for a change. You know what I mean? I really do feel like he's kind of plateaued as a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least. And I just felt like, he can't do anything more or less than this. So I'd rather us kind of go down a bit and have to work our way up rather than stay here any longer, because this is not fun. This is getting annoying. So, no disrespect to Tom. I think he's a great coach. I just feel like he's kind of done everything he could have done in Pittsburgh. But I think sometimes when I kind of do hear the criticisms about how Steelers fans, you guys better be grateful because, you guys are in a blessed position to have a coach that never lost and y'all gave him trash rosters. And while I do think, yes, Tomlin has overachieved, I guess the question is, to me, what I would ask him is just like, but why does he always have to overachieve from being mid? Like, it wasn't like we were projected to make the AFC Conference Championship and that we would lose to the Chiefs. No, the expectation was most of the time when we were going into the season, man, this team might not be 500. This might be the first losing season for Mike Tomlin, and then he ends up not having it, which I think it's cool that he's able to do. You're able to get more out of less. But my question be, why the hell we always got less? Why we never got more? Why? And we always have these, people be like, man, he was doing all this with bad quarterback play or not so good quarterbacks. Why do we always have bad quarterbacks? And in my opinion, it's just because he's the decision maker. He's not a good roster constructor. So when we have all these teams and we're like, damn, man, this team doesn't really look that good on paper. But you know what? He finds a way to get more out of them through motivation or whatever for us to mess around and win games we're not supposed to, or win the close games, win the ugly ones. While it's all good and fine and everything like that, it just lets you know we just don't belong in the playoffs still. You get what I'm saying? So I kind of just got to that point with Pittsburgh. I'm like, we're really not playing for anything. And I feel like at this point, we kind of better off just letting this kind of go. I feel like the Steelers job is pretty coveted. You know what I mean? You get to play for a franchise. This is literally only our fourth coach in franchise history. Literally. The upcoming coach is only our fourth coach in NFL in our franchise's history. So I think it's a coveted job. I mean, I do think you do have an uphill battle, but I do think that whatever coach comes in, they do come in with a little bit more favorable, because I do think that us as Pittsburgh fans, or at least me, I'm very understanding of the next couple of years might not be as bad. It might not be as good. We might be a 4-13 team, 6-11 team. Who knows? We might not be that good. I mean, if you ask me what's the best case scenario is Will Howard somehow turns out to be a really good quarterback and we don't have to dig through the draft to go get one. It would be nice to already have one. I don't really know. I think he was like a 6th round pick, so I think that's asking a lot to expect him to actually be a formidable starter. But you never know. He was under Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he could have learned a thing or two. Who knows? I think the next thing is just like, what am I looking for as any candidates I'm looking forward to? Not really anybody in particular. I think I'm just looking for somebody who's going to come in and I think kind of catch up with the times. I think us being Pittsburgh, we're so used to like this hard-nosed, defensive, grind it out, win them games. I think that is cool, but I think it is important to recognize that it's not sustainable for us to win games on the back of our defense, forcing the other team to only get 14 points. We have to have an offense that can put up points. And I feel like Pittsburgh has not had that in years. And that's kind of what kills us in playoff games, is the fact that we can't move the ball down the field. So I want somebody who's going to come in and also develop a quarterback, regardless of if it's Will Howard or somebody you have to draft. I'm kind of tired of them kind of going the bridge QB route. Oh, well, we already know what we're kind of getting with him, because that's why we were so bad. You know what I mean? Like, we were kind of doing these guys who, we kind of knew what they were, but we were just like, well, we were just going to make them play way safer and not turn the ball over. But I want a guy who can go out there and play make. You know what I mean? If the pocket is collapsing, be able to go out and make a throw on the run, or just something more than just you're good at this one side of quarterbacking. Like, Russ only had the moon ball. They didn't trust Justin to, have more control of the offense. So he was really kind of like this, either throw it mad short or go run and go get it. You know what I mean? Aaron Rodgers, we had to throw quick so that he couldn't get hit. So it would just be nice to have some more of a dynamic player back there at QB, because we just haven't had that in about a decade. And just somebody who can develop QBs. Like, either way, I think I want a guy who's going to come in and say, hey, I'm going to bring in my own QB through the draft, or maybe I'll try this Will Howard thing out. And I'm going to just build with him from the ground up and just kind of fill out the rest of the roster with good pieces. We need playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. We need playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. We are a team with a lot of flaws, and I do think that whatever coach can come in, I just want somebody who can kind of develop a new culture, a new look to Pittsburgh. Always, we want a great defense. That is the essence of Pittsburgh football. But I want to pair a fire defense with a good offense. You know what I mean? I'm not asking us to go out there and get our Mahomes type. I always say, for me, with Pittsburgh, I just want a guy I can get behind and believe in. Pause. Whoa, that sounded crazy. I just want a guy who I can root for. I want a quarterback who, when any given Sunday, we might not pick him over these top 3 guys, but on any given Sunday, he can go out there and outplay him. That's really what I'm looking for in terms of the next QB and coach tandem in Pittsburgh. I do like Brian Flores. I think that, he can develop a new culture. I think I trust him. I seen we were looking to interview some guys from the Rams, like the passing game coordinator and stuff like that. Those are names that are interesting. And I think that, I think that this is a step in the right direction for Pittsburgh, because what other choice did you have? What was the alternative? Be 10-7 next year? Like, I couldn't do that again. So, for me, but I also have made peace with, we might be a team where we are going to probably not be, we might be last place in the AFC North for the next 2-3 years. You know what I mean? Or bottom, we might be a bottom barrel team. And you know what? I think it is okay. You know what I mean? It is okay. It could be rough, and I expect it to be rough, but I think it's a different look for them, and it provides more hope as a Steelers fan, that I think with Tomlin and whatever those guys were cooking up, you just didn't have anymore. We completely lost faith. If Tomlin had got brought back next year, I would have never believed we were winning a playoff game. I don't care what the team looked like. It would have to be a completely brand new roster for me to believe it. And I knew that wasn't happening. So, So that's it. That's my Steelers rant. It is, I do want to thank Coach Tomlin for the 19 years he did his thing. He did a great job. Like, no losing season, no matter how much I kind of started to, get whatever with it, just because it was like 500 or barely over 500 and no playoff success. It still is impressive, the fact that you have never lost more games in the season than you've won. I have to admit that is very, very impressive. And he should be applauded for that. He's also a Super Bowl champion. So, he's done a lot. You know what I'm saying? He should be, in the Hall of Fame. That's the Hall of Fame coach right there. All right. Divisional round picks. Let's get to it. Bills versus the Broncos. I'm gonna go to Bills on this one. I'm kind of getting with the Josh Allen movement. That game against the Jaguars, I think that was the Josh Allen I want to see. And that's the Superman Josh Allen we know and love. So I'm gonna go to Bills on that one. 49ers versus the Seahawks. This is the interesting one. I am gonna go Seattle though. I think the 49ers, I do think that they're an aspiring story. Kyle Shanahan is doing a hell of a job over there. But I think with no Kittle and that Seattle defense, it's just not going to be easy for the Niners. And I can see Seattle doing just enough on offense to win, because the 49ers defense isn't all that great. Texans versus the Patriots. I'm going to go to Patriots here. The Texans offense has a lot to be desired. And, Drake May, that's a good QB. He didn't have a stellar, crazy first playoff game. But, I like the offense, at least being able to do a little bit more than Houston did. I feel like if Pittsburgh doesn't turn the ball over twice for touchdowns and all that stuff like that, it was primarily a low-scoring game for a while. And I think that the Patriots will be able to overcome, whatever the low-scoring affair is, to be eventually able to break out and get points. And for the last one, Rams versus the Bears. This is probably the hardest one. I really get nervous about the Bears just because they feel like they just play with fire. They get so close to losing and they find a way. And Caleb Williams looks good sometimes and then he doesn't. It's a very interesting team, but you can't argue the result. But I'm going to trust Matt Stafford. I'm going to trust Matt Stafford to get the job done. Matt Stafford, Pook, and them, they've been here. They've done it, so I can see them finishing the job. And yep, that's it for the divisional round. That is it for this week, y'all. Music recommendations, man. Just sharpen up on your A$AP Rocky, man. Get your A$AP Rocky right. As I was recording this, I see J. Cole just dropped a new single. So go ahead, spin that. That's my recommendation, man. Go ahead, get you some Rocky in, get you some J. Cole in, and enjoy the rest of the week, man. Follow your boy on all the platforms, man. Follow the page on Instagram, the YouTube. I'm going to leave a TikTok in the description. Check it out, man. I'm going to try to keep cooking up content. It's fun to do over there. I'm trying to connect with as many people and make some online friends. I ain't really worried about the whole promotion and all that shit. I'm just here. You know what I'm saying? Just living it up. So, follow me, fuck with me on there, man. And until then, I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.